Hello everyone. 8th of March is celebrated as the International Women's Day around the world. This day was particularly chosen after women gained suffrage, that is, the right to vote, in Soviet Russia in the year 1917. Though in some places it is still a day of protest, while in others it is a day that celebrates womanhood. So do we really need a day to celebrate womanhood when we are already celebrating her every day as a mother, as a wife, as a sister, and many other roles that she is playing in our lives? I think when we celebrate Women's Day, we are celebrating equality, we are celebrating happiness that a woman brings in our lives. She cares for everyone in the family except her. So here we are today to talk about her health. I am Dr. Aditi Tanwar. I am a junior consultant in the Department of Radiation Oncology at Dharamshila Narayana Super Speciality Hospital. And today we have with us Dr. Kanika Sharma Sood, who is a senior consultant in the Department of Radiation Oncology at Dharamshila Narayana Super Speciality Hospital. So we have ma'am with us to share her pearls of wisdom. So ma'am, what do you think is wellness in women?
So, Dr. Aditi, before I start telling you about wellness, I would want to take off from where you left. So, we as women are gifted with our unique power of multitasking abilities. But amidst this rush of doing everything and doing it the best we can, we forget ourselves. So, when you are nurturing somebody, you are somebody's wife, when you are somebody's mother, you want to do the best there, but at the cost of doing the best at other arenas, you tend to forget your own health. And that is what this day actually is reminding us. People say women empowerment. Women are empowered, women have the strength. This day is a reminder of recognition of that strength by the world as well as that woman herself, so that she understands that she is strengthened enough, but she has to use this strength rightly, and that too for herself also, not to forget herself. Because if the woman is not healthy, she is not happy, she will not be the best in all arenas. To be the best, that means being a good mother, good wife, and a good caretaker, and a good professional. You have to be healthy yourself. And these are actually the elements of wellness. Wellness does not stop at your physical health. Wellness includes your mental health, which is affected by a lot of factors. These include a public voice, people are listening to you, your family members take your opinions. It is the access to leisure time, you get some time to rest in the family, you have good sleep time, you are having good food for yourself, you have financial independence, and also you have some amount of access to some privacy. These all elements affect your mental health, because mental health directly affects physical health, and of course nobody can discount the physical health. So physical as well as mental health along with your good social well-being would formulate the all elements of wellness.
And I think ma'am, we should not be forgetting about the cardiovascular diseases and also the thyroidal diseases that also the women are facing.
Yes, of course. I think these are the issues which are basically arising from your physical distress. When you are stressed out, when it comes to mental stress, or when you're not resting adequately, definitely your health is at all. That is what I meant by saying that mental health affects your physical health. People feel women don't have cardiac issues. I think you would be surprised to know that we are having a lot of women having cardiac issues in the recent times.
Correct. So it's not easy to be a woman. We have a lot of stereotypes to break, families to care for, we have friends to hang out with, and lives to lead, but not without health issues. So ma'am, would you like to throw some light on the health issues that women are facing these days?
So I think women have a unique set of health issues. There are some issues which are common in men and women, but since women have that unique ability of childbearing, so that predisposes us to a lot of risks and diseases pertaining to it. A lot of women in our country currently have symptoms of PCOS, and then infertility is on a rise. Hypothyroidism, I think very common across the girls. People come with weight issues and period irregularities. So dysfunctional uterine bleeding is one of the health issues women come across. Then reproductive health problems after childbirth, there are issues related to that. Then fibroids. And I see a lot of young women nowadays coming to me with breast lumps, and many a times these may not be the malignant ones, but there are fibroadenomas, cyclical mastalgias which women come across. But I think the most scarier, the ones which we really are concerned for, are the major two malignancies. breast cancer and cervical cancer are the ones which would be raising an alarm, because our country is struggling with a huge burden of these two malignancies in the women.
Correct, truly said, ma'am. India is burdened with cervical cancer and breast cancer. And I think the incidence of breast cancer is around 1 in 8 women throughout the world have the risk of having a breast cancer in her lifetime. And I think in India, majority of the patients that we are seeing, they come in a very late stage, in the advanced stage.
Rightly said, Dr. Aditi. Yes, breast cancer is the most common cancer in the women in India. It has been on a steady rise. It used to be the number 2 cancer, but it has taken a leap and become number 1. So, first of all, it is definitely a very common malignancy, and that is attributable to our lifestyles. We are getting urbanized, more westernized. So, whatever was the disease of the West, we are getting them as gifts because we are adopting the Western lifestyle. But unfortunate thing is that in the West, most women come in stage 1. But in India, I am sharing with you the statistics which has come in 2020. Around 67% women in our country come in loco-regional stage, that would be stage 3. Only 30% women come to us in stage 1, which is unfortunate, because everybody understands the earlier you pick up these cancers, more are the chances that women will be cured. It's a simple saying, a stitch in time saves 9. So,
correct.
if somebody picks up a lesion in screening, her chances of cure are very, very good, to the tune of 90%, rather than when it advances and it comes in stage 3 or 4, then unfortunately the rates of survival as well as the chances of maintaining cosmesis go down.
I probably think that shyness is the major factor in India that has led to these diseases not being detected in the earlier stages.
Absolutely. I believe, Dr. Aditi, you must be remembering that we launched the Me First drive a couple of years back. So, the purpose of Me First drive was that the women understand that their health is the prime thing in their lives. Rest things can wait. Your family obligations, your commitments come behind your health. If you are healthy, you will be doing everything. You will be able to take care of your children's studies, you will be attending all functions, your husbands will be well supported by you if you are healthy. But if you are hiding facts, and it happens, I have stories where patients' husbands tell me that she did not disclose to me. Had she told me that she was suffering from this, I would have brought her in earlier. So, do not hide, don't be shy. Talk about your problems to your husband or anybody else you confide into. It may be a friend, it may be a colleague, it may be your daughter. Whosoever you are comfortable with, talk about it. They may take you to the healthcare facility and get you cured in time. So, shyness is a big factor. Exactly. And I would add on to saying that for the same reason, I think self-breast examination is of importance in our country, because our women hesitate to go out and show themselves to the doctors. They would prefer to, either meet the local dai, Anganwadi worker, or maybe not even them when it comes to such problems. So, it is important that we educate our women to self-breast examine, because what is the element of self-breast examination? You are teaching a lady to understand the texture of her own breast.
Correct.
Because of the cyclical changes, the breast tissue is sometimes nodular, sometimes soft. So, if a woman knows that during this course of my menstrual cycle, my breast may have nodularities, she will not be scared. And if she is having those nodularities at the time when it should not be there, she will pick it up early and report early.
Exactly.
So, a lot of importance is there, and I think there are plentiful literature, images, YouTube videos from which you can learn these self-breast examination maneuvers.
Definitely. We all know our body the best. Nobody else knows it the way we know it. So, we shouldn't be ignoring our body. I think the saying goes that we should be the driver of the journey, of our journey called as life, and not just the passenger.
Absolutely.
So, ma'am, apart from self-breast examination, do you also suggest some other investigations that should be done by the women as a part of the screening program?
So, I think first we need to tell what exactly is screening. So, screening means when we are doing certain tests on a person who's healthy. So, a woman should go for an annual checkup. I think that would cover all domains, including hypothyroidism, her blood test. At the same time, there are certain women of the age group above 45 years of age who would go for a mammography. So, mammography is an X-ray of the breast, which is recommended that it should be done till at least 65 years of the age, because these are the women which are at higher risk. Women younger than 45, if they have family members afflicted with this cancer, may require a mammography at a slightly earlier age. Apart from mammography, the other test I would recommend in married or sexually active women is the pap smear.
correctly speaking, that without a talk about the cervical cancer, I think this discussion would be incomplete.
Yes, yes. So Pap smear is basically covering the cervical cancer, which again is the second most cancer in our women folk, and we are contributing to 1/4 of the global burden of cervical cancer. So this is a simple test. Some fluid is taken from around the cervix, which is the mouth of the uterus, and it is tested. We are not cutting anything, we are not taking a piece. This fluid is checked, and that can tell you that a cancer may be likely to form in the next even 15 years. So it can pick up pre-malignant conditions which can be cured and treated, and you can prevent them from developing into cancers, and these conditions are CIN 1, 2 and 3. So if a woman is going for the Pap smear, it has to be repeated every 3 years after the 21 years of age up to 65 years. If this particular test has also been accompanied by HPV testing, which is the virus which causes this cancer, then this test can be repeated every 5 years if it's normal. If it is abnormal, of course, accordingly you will be treated. These are the two major tests I think if a woman goes for as per the schedule, she is securing her life in a lot of ways against these two diseases. Apart from that, since I shared that a lot of metabolic problems are there, the doctor concerned who would examine you during this annual examination would let you know that whether sugar, uric acid or your liver profile needs to be checked. That is customized as per your age and as per your comorbidities.
And I think that the immunization program is now also including
Yes.
the vaccines for prevention of cervical
there
cancer.
is a very, very effective vaccine for cervical cancer. It should be done in adolescent girls. Usually it is started from 9 to 11 years of age, and there are just 2 doses for it. If a woman misses on the opportunity for this immunization during her childhood, she can go on take it till 40 years of age comfortably, but the number of doses increases from 2 to 3. And surely there is some decrease in efficacy, but some protection definitely is offered till 45 years of age. So vaccine, I think you can talk to the pediatricians or the gynecologists. Most people are doing these vaccines and they are very effective and time tested. We have good 15 to 18 years of follow-up of this vaccine in our own country.
So ma'am, I think we have briefly spoken about each and every aspect that touches a woman's health. So if asked in a nutshell, what would be the take-home message you would like to give to our women listeners?
So I think it is high time we get aware of ourselves, get involved in knowing what affects us physically as well as mentally. Eat healthy, have good amount of fluids, fibers, green leafy vegetables and colored fruits in your diet, because these are the ones which are protective against a lot of diseases including cancer. Exercise regularly. Don't think that the household work is the exercise, because most women feel I keep on working the entire day and that constitutes the exercise. So exercise, at least I would say, if not much, then at least 180 minutes in a week would be sufficient to keep your weight under check, because truncal obesities invite a lot of diseases like diabetes. It invites for endometrial cancers, thyroidism as well as breast cancer. And PCOS is also affected by your body habitus, because PCOS is insulin resistance. If your body weight is in check, your PCOS is likely to be corrected on its own. Additionally, be involved into screening. Give yourself this gift this Women's Day, I would say. Rather than expecting some other gift, go get yourself examined. That is the biggest gift you can give yourself on this Women's Day. And I think if you are taking a good care of yourselves, you are obliging your entire family as well as the community, because you will be a more efficient person in all respects.
So I think we as women, we have the superpowers of intuition and femininity, and if we use it in the correct combination, we can win all battles. So we take this opportunity to wish you all a very, very happy Women's Day.
Day.
Thank you.